Yes, where's the rest of the money, Joe? You said 2,000 a few weeks ago, okay? So y'all take that 600 y'all was giving out before and add that to what you offering with that 1,400, that's 2K. Where is the money, Joe? Y'all give these corporations whatever they want. Y'all don't shortchange them, so don't shortchange the American people. Ante up, slime. And y'all cut that clip off because at the end of that clip, after he said people need to get $2,000, $6,000 isn't enough, Joe ended it by saying on Crip. So where's the money, Joe? Where's the money, Joe? Joe, where's the money?
So what's going on, everybody? We back for the 5th time, of course, episode 5 of the ShiftMakers podcast. I am your host, Elder Designer. We gonna rock this thing solo today. It's gonna be a nice little 30 piece. Gonna give y'all a nice little 30-minute session today, and got something pretty exciting for this episode today. I know y'all know currently we all waiting on this little stimulus check. I know y'all heard about that, and probably gonna be coming pretty soon. So I thought it would be a great time to talk a little bit about some financial planning with y'all today.
If the numbers right, we gonna take flight.
Now, what I mean by financial planning, I want to go a little bit more in depth. Of course, then, you know, what we used to, what we taught in civics, 11th grade, 10th grade, something like that, whatever. More than just basic economics, what we taught. I actually want to go a little bit further than that, you dig? So we gonna catch up a little bit on about the concept of money, right? Like, what's money? What is money? I want to start that conversation and just that thought process of what is money. I want to start that off with a clip that I got from YouTube. It's this guy named Jaspreet Singh or something like that. I think his name is Jaspreet Singh, and he's from the Minority Mindset. But the way he kind of talked about money and framed basically the way money is, he did a very excellent job with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let him speak to y'all right quick.
Really have that much value. When your dollars are not backed by anything tangible, it makes it very easy to manipulate the value of the dollars that you're working so hard to earn. I'll show you what I mean. So let's go back to this example where now I'm working really hard to earn $50,000 a year. So this is me, and I'm going to work every single day. Gotta draw me a nice mustache. I'm going to work every single day so I can make $50,000 in a year. And let's assume, for the sake of this example, just to keep things simple, that there are only $500,000 in the entire world. So I worked really hard to attract and earn this $50,000, and there's only $500,000 in the world, which means I control 10% of this country's buying power of this dollar. So I own 10% of the wealth because that's what I worked hard to earn. Now here's the
So, of course, he just breaking down, you know, if you like he said in his example, $50,000, of course, if he had that and there was only $500,000 left in the world, 10% of that is basically his.
Think if these dollars are just paper and the government comes out and they say, you know what, we're going to increase the money supply and we're going to change the amount of dollars out there from $500,000 to $1 million. They have just increased the money supply. And if I don't get any of that, now I don't have 10% of the world's wealth. I only have 5% of the total buying power or world's wealth because the amount of dollars out there just doubled because the government decided to print more money and inject it into the economy. And unless I get some of that, I just became poorer because I have the same amount of money when there's more money out there. Now,
Inflation, folks. Inflation. Just in case you ain't know the concept of inflation, that's pretty much it right there.
But you got hell of a research, bro. I ain't know that. I forgot that.
You know, you got some money. The government prints out a whole lot of money, and the value of your current dollar pretty much goes down as the government is printing out that money. Because, of course, like he was saying, he had 10% of pretty much all of the money in the world when he brought up that example of having 50,000 of the total 500,000. And with them just printing more money, instead of him now having 10%, that percentage just dwindled. So it probably went from 10% to now maybe 5%. And that, of course, is pretty much the whole concept of inflation.
Now, if I wanted to go out and buy myself a side of extra guac that used to cost $5 when there was only $500,000 in circulation, I'm going to need $10 in order to buy the same side now, because you need the same kind of percentage, the same amount of wealth, the same amount of value in order to buy that guac, because now there's so many more dollars out there. It might sound like a crazy example, and yeah, it's a little bit simplified, but that's kind of how our monetary system works. Our money supply is controlled by our central banking system, which is known as the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Federal Reserve Bank has the ability to print money. So when you hear about things like the rising national debt, and you hear bailouts are happening, you hear about stimulus checks, what that means is the government is going deeper into debt to fund whatever it is they want to do. And in order to fund their debt, they're working with the Federal Reserve Bank to print this money. And then the Federal Reserve Bank gives this money to the United States government. And then the United States government then injects this money into our economy. Could you imagine if you had your own money printer? I mean, you could walk into the mall, go to the Gucci store and see that $400 scarf and say, oh no, I don't have $400. Let me just print a few $100. Boop, boop, boop. $400 come out. Now you just got yourself a new Gucci scarf. You and I, unfortunately, don't have the ability to do that because we have to work to earn this money.
If only we could print some money. If only we could print money.
Unbelievable is believable. The unachievable is achievable.
Now, of course, he was breaking down basically the whole concept of money and pretty much how the United States treat money in a sense, you know. So like if they trying to do something, I'm talking about the government, of course, if they want to do something either foreign or if they want to do something nationally, like, of course, within the United States, I mean, they just have the ability to print money. Why? Because they literally work with the Federal Reserve, which is all of the money, United States, basically. So, you know, just having that ability to do that and kind of control inflation and, you know, just the value of the dollar. Shit, like Kanye said, no one man should have all that power. But damn, you know, it's definitely a power to have. And just to bounce off of course, the concept of money, there's the concept of inflation. And that's a little bit what I want to get into a little bit more in depth today also. So I got some numbers pulled up for y'all. I just want to read off to y'all to kind of show y'all how inflation is over the last, well, how inflation was, I'll say, over the last 10 years. And damn, bro, like it's, you know, it's crazy. It's a small percentage every year. But when you sum it up in as a whole, you feel and see the impact, especially when you just recall how things was in 2010 regarding price, you know. So in 2010, the price of inflation went up 1.64%. So for instance, if you had $100 in your bank account, that $100 pretty much after the entire year of 2010 was now valued at, what is that, like 98, I'm just 36, I'm thinking like 98.36. So your $100 after a year is now valued at $98.36 because you lost $1.64, basically because of inflation. You know, nothing that had to do with you, but pretty much the government. So that's why a lot of people is kind of weary about, you know, sticking all of their finances in a bank account and solely just relying on, of course, bank interest kind of to pay you, because the interest level is so minimal and so low. This is not even as much as the inflation that's going to be eating away at the money that you have sitting, you know. So moving on to 2011, and I'm going to kind of read this a little bit faster than this. Moving on to 2011, we're looking at 3.14%. Moving on to 2012, we are at 2.07%. At 2013, we are at 1.47%. At 2014, we're coming in at 1.62%. That, of course, is added to the national inflation rate. At 2015, we had a little bit of a dip at 0.12%. Going to 2016, it raised again to 1.26%. 2017, it rose again 2.14%. 2018, 2.44%. 2019, 1.81%. 2020, 0.62%. Of course, a lot of that had to do with the pandemic, so the cost of your dollar can't really inflate. But 2021, 2.24%. And that is just the start of 2021, kind of a projection in a sense. So, with all of that being said, if you compound all of those percentages I just named, I just listed, of course, that's a lot. It's definitely a lot after 10 years, and it's pretty dramatic when you think about it. Just going back to that $100 in your bank account example, if you just having that sit over a 10-year period, that $100 is probably now valued at a total of $80 maybe, or $75 because of those percentage points that you lost off that $100 due to inflation. Not necessarily saying that $100 turned into $80, but it's now valued like that. Meaning, of course, if you go to the store, that $100 probably, if you, let's just say, I don't know, go to Target, Walmart, whatever, right? You go to those locations, that $100 maybe could have brought you 22 items. Now that $100 buys you 20 items. And that, my friends, is the significant power of inflation. Wow! So now that we kind of have, an idea of how significant inflation impacts the power of inflation and how it impacts us, let me ask you, should you save or should you invest now? Right? And the reason being is because, of course, we just came out of this pandemic, right? So, a lot of people maybe they lost their lifetime savings. There's a lot of people who probably had to close down their business and had to go into their lifetime savings. So they may be looking to, start replacing that. And then there's people who may be looking at it at a completely different angle. Like, this is now my time. There's no other time. There's no other opportunity. This is now my opportunity and time to build something that I've been trying to build for years now. So on the opposite side of that spectrum, there's some people looking to, of course, invest. So I'm asking you, what will you do? Will you save or will you invest? Now, there's all types of investments you can make. There's all types of ways you can go about the way of saving. You could go ahead and put your money in your sock. You'll put it in a shoebox. You'll put it in a jar. You can put it in a bank account. You can go to a credit union. Listen, when you got money, there's all types of people that'll hold that shit. So you gonna always have the opportunity to save. You dig? Now investing comes in time. You have to have opportunity in order to invest properly. Of course, you have to have monetary funds, but you need to have that also to save too. But in order to invest, you also, have to look at the opportunity in the current landscape. And just to give you some examples, when you invest, of course, you're investing in assets. And I'll just go ahead and give you the proper definition of an asset. It's basically a useful or valuable thing, person, or quality. So an asset can really be a few different things, but of course we're talking about a valuable thing. And a lot of people, they view real estate and their home as an asset. And this is actually something I learned from Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If y'all haven't read it, it's a very, very, very good book. You should definitely go ahead and look at that. One of the first things he taught in that book is the power of assets. And basically, if you own a home, your home is not an asset. Your home is a liability, even though you can pass it down generationally. Until that home starts making you money, it's not an asset. And that's basically what I want our definition of the ShiftMakers definition of an asset to be. Something that will, of course, make you money. And I don't want to necessarily just leave it at that, because a job can be an asset if that's the definition. But however, you're trading something for money. You're trading your time for money. Each and every time you work, you go to work, you work your 9 to 5, or you work your hourly shift, you clock on, you trade in your time for money. So you're not necessarily going about the business of building an asset when you're trading something for your money. And in this case, I want everybody to start thinking of a way for them to build an asset and invest in that asset. And this is, of course, solely based on if you want to go about the business of doing this. And based off of them inflation numbers, I think it'll probably be your best bet to do that. But if you go about the business of trying to develop and build an asset and invest in that asset, in the long run, it's always going to be for the better. And let me explain that a little bit better. So just to break down some types of assets, I mean, you got, like, of course, the stock market. I mean, you got if you own real estate, and by real estate, again, I'm not talking about your own home, but multiple locations. That way you're actually making You're basically making your ROI, your return on investment. So if you put a certain amount of money into a home, you want to make sure that you're making that over a certain period of time back. And that's when it becomes into an asset that you can actually deliver on year after year after year after year. And that is when your home or a home or some homes become an asset, right? And also, of course, if you have a business, that is a great asset. Now, I'll be honest with you, as of course somebody who owns a few businesses actually, there's definitely something you're trading off for this asset. And that's time also. Owning a business is one of the most time consuming things you could possibly ever do in life. It's probably the most time consuming thing you could possibly ever do in life. And the reason being is, and this is just if you're trying to own a successful business. Now, if you're just owning a business and you're working it 2 to 3 days a week, then I mean, shit, go ahead and do your thing. But if you're trying to own a successful business, one that's actually going to be able to pay your bills, one that's going to be able to actually grow and turn into, like I said, a long-term asset, then you will be trading some time. Now, the thing is, if you develop a system to recoup that time, and by that I mean develop a system by getting help, you won't be trading as much time because, of course, somebody else will be, kind of helping you trade that time. Now, outside of businesses, I mean, there's, like we was mentioning before, the stock market, cryptocurrency, different things like that. NFTs, those are very popular now. And I think it's definitely the future wave, y'all. If y'all haven't heard of NFTs, it's basically buying and investing in digital assets that carries a digital receipt that basically shows proof of ownership. So if I have, I don't know, a digital painting, digital art, which is actually something I may move into, digital art. So y'all be on the lookout for that. Yeah, but if I had one of those pieces, I could go about the business of selling that piece for, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000 online digitally and just create a flat out digital receipt. I don't have to ship anything. Everything is flat out digital. And again, this is NFTs. Google it if you haven't yet. And basically, the person I sell it to, they now have the sole ownership of that digital asset. And if they want to go about the business of reselling that, like, of course, people do with physical art paintings, they can do that, resell it, let's just say for $50,000 on that. I don't know. I forgot what number I said. Let's just say 10,000 or 1,000 on that initial investment. If they sell it for 50,000, I will get royalties from that. So I'll get a percentage from that, while still, of course, holding on to the initial income that I got from the first sale. And each and every time that piece is sold, you get royalties from it. So NFTs is a fantastic asset if you are creative in any way, music, like literally anything that's creative that can be done digitally. You should definitely look into that. And I mean, again, there's really all types of assets that you can invest into. Like I was just saying, physical paintings, those, depending on the artist, of course, those are great assets because over time, year by year, those paintings become more and more valuable. And, again, if you're going about the business of building a business, you have to see it as an asset, and you may have to continue to invest in it and pump money into it so it can now start pumping money back into you. And in that sense, I want you to start thinking of, okay, how can you build wealth with, let's just say, if you had an asset that's a business, how can you build wealth or even just build a successful income stream with that asset, right? How can you do that? Again, you have to, one, figure out a way to make that asset a little bit duplicable. That way you can build a team around you to help you so you won't be trading time for money. And two, of course, you have to have the knowledge and ability to build an audience, And once you build a loyal audience, an audience that's going to continue to rock with you, an audience that's going to continue to fuck with you, then you're going to have a unit, you're going to have something that's reliable. You're going to start building traction. And then with that being said, you're going to actually start seeing some return on investment. And the big thing is that a lot of people don't realize when they say most businesses fail within the first 5 years, which is a fact. I think it's like 90% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. The reason behind that is when people start to get a little bit of traction, either they lose momentum and they get excited about the results and they begin to lose momentum, or B, they don't reinvest in their assets. So they'll just take the money that they made, the profit that they made, and go about the business of using it to spend it on bills or buy a new car or buy a new house and whatever. That isn't treating your asset like an investment. If you truly treat your asset like an investment, you're going to look to invest in it before anybody else invests in it. Now, of course, you're investing your time, but you're going to need to continue to pump money into it. And the reason being, if you and the reason and the way that's actually going to help you is if you go about the business of course, taking some of that profit and utilizing it to invest back in your business. So if you let's just say own, I don't know, like a barbershop or something, right? If you own a barbershop, like the physical, like, you got the physical location, you pay the lease on it and all that. And your barbershop then popped off, you getting booked nonstop. The other barbers around you getting booked nonstop. That means you making, some decent bread. Why not go about the business of reinvesting that bread and maybe getting another shop, but in a better location? And by better location, I mean maybe a more convenient location where you can get even more customers. Or if you paying the lease, why not reinvest it and maybe franchise and get another barbershop by that name? Because if you're getting a lot of traction and a lot of clients, then that mean that brand, that barbershop is starting to hold weight with people. People actually starting to really rock with it. So people may be coming from out of town. They may be coming, I don't know, whatever, and they may be wanting to get their haircut. So you actually able to put a barbershop on one side of the city and then put a barbershop on another side of the city. You dig? So, but the only way that's going to come is if you're willing to reinvest that initial profit or that initial gain that you got, so you got to be willing to do that and build and stack upon that investment in order to truly build the asset that's going to last for generations. And I'm not saying that barbershop, if that ain't something you want to last for generations, it's all upon you. But if, you want it to last, then that's definitely possible. You can always hire new barbers to carry on that name. You know what I'm saying? And once that brand is built, it's all about the brand. Once that brand is built and people know, these, whoever walks into X barbershop, when they go ahead and get their haircut, it's gonna always be official because of the, Mr. Let's just say Mr. John. Mr. John, he don't hire nobody that don't play. So, every barber that's in there, regardless of if they new, old, whatever, they don't play. And that's the brand. And that's the asset. So with all of that being said, I kind of had an idea, and it's not even my idea, honestly. It's actually a clip from the Joe Budden podcast. And it was somebody that Joe Budden and his friends invited, Rory and Mel and Parks. They invited onto the show. I forgot the name, and I'm pretty sure he might say the name in this clip. But they basically talked about Black people moving as a unit and building wealth together. And I thought about this a lot because of the stimulus check situation, in a sense. So like, and just hear this out.
Moment on so many different levels, because it's like, what would happen if 2 million Black people came together and said, we're going to move the market every single week? Think about how much wealth would be created if 500%, all right, this week we're going to make this stock go up 500%. We're going to make this crypto coin go up 500%. Put your money in on Tuesday, Friday, da-da-da. First of all, they probably find a way to shut it down completely.
And just to give y'all a little bit of context, they was talking a little bit about, I'm not sure if y'all heard of this Reddit channel called WallStreetBets, but they was talking about the impact this Reddit channel, WallStreetBets, was basically making, like the impact that they were making in the stock market. Like they was making stocks go up 125%, like 250%, like the gains that was being made overnight. Of course, I'm sure y'all heard about GameStop, AMC, Rocket Mortgage, those type of things that this WallStreetBets Reddit basically sparked up. He was comparing it to what Black people could possibly do, you know, if we was to go about the business of just unifying each other and deciding, okay, this week this is what we're going to invest in. This week, this is what we're going to put out. We're going to boost the money into. All right, next week, this is what we're going to boost the money into. And he's just comparing it to the stock market, but it truly could go with any asset. And I'm going to let him finish.
Overnight, but it just goes to show you this power in numbers. And these people is making real money, 800% in one day. Like, that's crazy.
800.
Listen, Rashad, two of my favorite movies are Boiler Room and Wolf of Wall Street.
Boiler Room underrated.
I don't trust stocks. I think that every fucking stock market is just a big ass warehouse with phones, just how it was in Boiler Room. I think people are stealing your fucking money. I don't trust none of this shit. What do you say to somebody like myself?
What do you trust?
What do I trust?
What do you trust?
My mattress.
Okay, that's it. That's the only thing you trust.
That's it.
He's saying to put money in it, not the banks.
That's it.
Jesus.
Because this is what I'm telling you. Most of the time, somebody might say, "I trust my wife. I trust my mom."
And and that was Maul. He basically was finishing things off by saying he trusts his mattress, but that's kind of the mindset of a lot of people, especially a lot of people that look like us. We go about the business of, you know, just trusting our mattress, just trusting a bank account, trusting Chase, Bank of America. What, man? What? Capital One. We saw it, man. We saw the bricks Chase had on that boat like a couple years ago, right? And we trusting them, huh? And of course, you know, like Ma was just saying, if not them, then he trusts his mattress. He trusts his shoebox. He trusts his socks, basically with his asset, with his money. And, you know, that though I don't need to go in depth of how that may not be the best decision to go down, especially, you know, coming from New Orleans. I didn't have my house broken into before. So, yeah, I definitely feel like, what the guy that I was mentioning earlier, what he said earlier on in the clip, as far as, you know, how we can unify each other, and instead of just trusting those entities, we actually trust each other and invest in each other. Like, and it ain't even got to be the whole black race. It ain't even got to be the whole black race in America. Like 13% of 300 million people. It ain't even got to be that. If it's 1% of 300 million people, which is 3. If it's 3 million, it's 3 million. Ain't even got to be 3 million. If we get 1 million people on, I don't know, some type of like social media thing, some type of, I don't know, some type of little group, big ass group chat, group something. And we basically get everybody on the same page like they did with that subreddit thing. I mean, that WallStreetBets thing on Reddit, bruh, dude. every week, those 1 million people make some type of investment in a black business. Come on, man. Millionaires made every week, every single week, millionaires. But of course, that's all it's gonna take. That's the type of work it's gonna take. And you know, it's tangible. It's definitely it's reachable. I meant to say, but we just gotta share that same vision. I feel like, you know, and it's more so about support. I feel like it's more so about support and how we can support each other. And if we can't even go down that route, I feel like we could go down this route. And this in my last and final clip I want to present to y'all. And this is from my partners, of course, at the MoFax show, MoFax with Adam Curry. And yeah, I'm going to just let this clip ride.
Our businesses, you know, by the essence, don't just look at it online. Giving Black, whether we're talking about HBCUs, our colleges, whether we're talking about our organizations like Campaign Zero or Justice League that are doing so many great things, how are we supporting them? And how do we expect them to support us if we're not giving back to them regularly with our time, talent, and our treasure?
And there you have it. There you have it. That's how you could give. If you ain't got the money to do it, if you're not part of that 1 million to go about the business of, you know, investing in that group, then guess what? You have time and talent, right? And speaking of time and talent, that's kind of what, you know, we kind of ask for when it comes to the ShiftMakers. And of course, supporting us along with Treasure, like she mentioned before. And we at the ShiftMakers, of course, is presented by Crew Clothing. That is KRUE Clothing. We can be founded at crewclothing.com. That is KRUE Clothing.com. And we're also presented by Color Command Creative Studio. That can be found on Instagram via Color Command, of course. Color spelled COLOR, and then command, you know, that's pretty straightforward. And Color Command is basically a creative studio that helps businesses build connections with their audience. Now, Color Command works, of course, by utilizing branding principles, and they specialize in branding and identity to help businesses, startups build a connection with their audience. And I mean, they do social media marketing. They, of course, help out with this podcast production. And if you or a friend are building a business, if you are a friend are building an asset, if you or a friend is trying to build some value, I think you definitely may want to talk to Color Command and those folks down there at Color Command, mainly because they know a lot about value and building a brand. So if you want to do those things, head over to their Instagram page, shoot them a DM. If not that, you can also reach out to Color Command by sending an email. Now, of course, you can send an email to us at info@crewclothing.com. Now that is info@crewclothing.com, KRUE clothing.com. And, you know, just go ahead and say, hey, I wanted to reach out to Color Command and I wanted to see what y'all got going on, or yada, yada, yada. So basically, you know, that's perfect ways of going about the business of supporting, you know, just reaching out. And of course, if you want to support this show, that can be done in a few different ways. Of course, you can go about the business of just listening all the way through. That is extremely valuable to us. You can give some feedback, of course, like they mentioned before, time, talent, and treasure. That is definitely talent. Some feedback, giving some suggestions, going about the business of just helping produce this by maybe offering a topic, telling us what you like, telling us what you didn't like. And also, you can support us by just giving us a donation. Donations will be accepted via Venmo and PayPal. That is at ShiftMakers, ShiftMakers, SHIFT Makers. And you can, of course, like I said, do that via Venmo and PayPal. We accept all types of donations, little donations, small donations, medium donations, big donations, of course. And, you know, it's all valuable to us. So again, consider leaving some value if you got some value back. And with all of that being said, I'm L the Designer. This is episode 5 of the ShiftMakers.